in a shared apartment, all the way to the highest office in Russia, Vladimir Putin's journey is, without a doubt, one of the most incredible political stories of our time. So how did it happen? Well, today, we're going to break it all down, piece by piece.
We'll kick things off with his humble beginnings and his early years as a KGB spy. Then we're going to dive into his almost unbelievably fast rise to the political ranks. After that, we'll look at how he locked down his power, created that famous strongman image, and what his long-term game plan tells us about his vision for Russia.
You know, it's a story that really makes you wonder. How on earth did a boy from a communal flat in war-torn Leningrad become one of the most powerful and long-lasting leaders in the entire world? To figure that out, let's go all the way back to the beginning.
All right, Section 1, From Humble Beginnings. We're talking about the formative years that really shaped the man he would become. So Putin was born in 1952 in Leningrad, which is now Saint Petersburg, right into the tough reality of post-World War II's Soviet life. His family lived in what they called a communal flat, and that meant sharing one kitchen and one bathroom with several other families. In a place like that, with zero privacy, being resourceful and tough, well, that wasn't just a good quality, it was about survival. As a kid, he was small and skinny, and he got picked on a lot. So, at age 12, he did something about it. He took up judo. And this became way more than just self-defense. For him, it was a lesson in discipline, in building confidence, and in thinking clearly when you're under pressure. And honestly, those are the exact skills that would later define his entire political style.
Section 2. The Young KGB Spy. It was that disciplined mindset that led him straight to his first real ambition.
You know, while other kids were dreaming of being astronauts, Putin had this one laser-focused goal: join the KGB. And he went after it like a chess master. He became fluent in German, he absolutely crushed his studies, and he even chose to study law for one specific reason. He knew it was a prime recruiting ground for the agency.
And guess what? It worked. He got into the KGB in 1975. By the mid-80s, he was stationed in East Germany. And that's where he was when the Berlin Wall came down. He saw that chaos firsthand. Sources say that moment, seeing how fragile state power could be, really shaped his thinking. So in 1991, with the Soviet Union gone, he left the KGB and had to figure out his place in a brand new, very uncertain Russia.
Section 3. A rapid rise to power. And it turns out that chaotic, uncertain Russia was the perfect launching pad for an absolutely meteoric political career. To really get Putin's rise, you have to picture Russia in the 1990s. The economy was a mess, corruption was everywhere, and things were just unstable. And in the middle of all that chaos, Putin's reputation really started to shine. He was seen as this quiet but incredibly effective guy, a loyal problem solver who just got things done. In a time of crisis, he was the calm in the storm.
And his climb was just shockingly fast. I mean, look at this. In 1991, he's a local aide in Saint Petersburg. By 96, he's in Moscow. Just 3 years later, he's the prime minister. And then the real bombshell. On New Year's Eve 1999, President Boris Yeltsin suddenly resigns and names this relatively unknown guy, Vladimir Putin, as the acting president of Russia.
So now he's in charge, and he knows he has to move fast to cement his authority. That brings us to Section 4, Consolidating Control, the President's Playbook.
His first huge challenge? The oligarchs. These were the super wealthy businessmen who had grabbed massive political power after the Soviet Union fell apart. They basically controlled entire industries and had huge influence. To Putin, they weren't just business rivals, they were a direct threat to the power of the Russian state itself.
So his response was swift and decisive. He went right after the oligarchs, sending a clear signal that their time of unchecked power was over. He started reforming the economy and modernizing the military. And, in a really crucial move, he brought the major TV networks under government influence. He saw it as absolutely essential for creating a single, unified national story.
And his whole philosophy during this time can pretty much be boiled down to this one belief: a strong leader must make tough decisions even if they are unpopular. That was the justification for the hardline steps he felt he had to take to bring order back to Russia.
But restoring order wasn't just about policies. It was also about perception. And that leads us right into Section 5, Russia's strongman, and the very careful creation of a public image.
I mean, think about it. After more than 2 decades in power, Vladimir Putin isn't just Russia's leader. For a lot of people, he is Russia. And that incredible longevity has become a source of his authority all by itself.
And over the years, he has built this very deliberate public persona of strength,
a vitality. We've all seen the pictures, right? Riding a horse shirtless in Siberia, flying a fighter jet, diving to ancient shipwrecks. Every single one of those was a calculated photo op designed to project the image of a fearless, powerful, hands-on leader.
But this is where it gets really interesting, because behind that very public strongman character, there's a much more private and disciplined man, someone who reportedly loves animals and classical music. It's a side of him that's rarely ever seen, and it hints at a much more complex person than the public image might suggest.
And that carefully built image, well, it serves a much bigger purpose in his long-term vision, which brings us to our final section, Putin's enduring legacy as a global strategist.
So what's the ultimate goal? According to our source material, it's to create what he calls a multipolar world. Basically, a world where power isn't dominated by one country, but shared among several major players. And his strategy for getting there has a few key parts: building strong alliances with powers like China, re-establishing Russian influence in the Middle East, and creating new economic partnerships.
A huge piece of this global plan is actually domestic. It's all captured in this quote, "A nation that forgets its history has no future." His belief is that to be strong on the world stage, Russia has to be proud at home. By reviving a sense of national pride, he aimed to restore the confidence that was lost after the Soviet collapse, laying the groundwork for a more assertive Russia.
So when you step back and look at it, his story is really one of incredible resilience, sharp strategy, and a relentless vision for his country. From that communal flat to the global stage, he has completely remade Russia, which leaves us with the big, unanswered question: what will the next chapter of this story look like?